Monkeypox is in gay South Florida, and UNAIDS calls out homophobic coverage against LGBTQ+. Broward County has now diagnosed 2 cases of monkeypox. The World Health Organization is reporting that the LGBTQ+ community, and specifically gay and bisexual men, are being shown to be an above-average number of worldwide cases. The second presumptive case was confirmed today. The CDC is now investigating, and normally confined to West Africa, outbreaks of the disease have been identified in the last couple of weeks in 11 countries. The Department of Health in Broward County stressed the infection risk was much lower than a virus such as COVID-19. Broward DOH says, quote, human-to-human transmission of monkeypox generally requires prolonged face-to-face contact, direct contact with lesion materials, or indirect contact with lesion materials through contaminated items such as clothing or bed linens. Therefore, the risk of exposure remains low, end quote. Early symptoms include fever, headache, muscle aches, backache, swollen lymph nodes, chills, and exhaustion. It will often be accompanied by a chickenpox-like rash. The United Nations AIDS Agency, UNAIDS, spoke out against homophobic and racist coverage of the recent outbreak of monkeypox in the UK and the US. The UNAIDS official statement says, quote, lessons from the AIDS response show that stigma and blame are directed at certain groups of people can rapidly undermine outbreak response, end quote. Multiple news outlets have reported on the outbreak by specifying the gender and sexuality of patients and highlighting that queer men were the first victims. Outlets, including the Associated Press, reported on 2 events, one in Spain, the other in Belgium, that are considered super spreaders, including a pride event at in the Canary Islands and at a gay sauna near Madrid. UNAIDS deputy editor Matthew Cavanaugh pointed out the similarities between homophobic coverage of monkeypox and news coverage around the AIDS epidemic, saying, quote, monkeypox is not a gay disease, and neither are any other infectious diseases. It is unfortunate that this still needs to be said, highlighting how little we have learned from previous outbreaks, end quote.
As a gay man of a certain age, it is frighteningly reminiscent.
Yeah.
They're beginning to pin this on. It's just terrifying, and hopefully this will not.
Actually, for me, the consequences of the insinuation is much more painful than what's actually going on with the disease. We're talking about a fraction of the number of people in Europe, anywhere else, these 11 countries. But the homophobic response that UNAIDS points out, oh my goodness, it's like a wave washing over you again.
Right.
You know, I'm reporting on this for South Florida Gay News, which will be out on Thursday, but I've read about the how this is different than some other monkeypox viruses. Often the rash shows up later. This time it's showing up first. Symptoms are often very confused with other STIs and things like that. So if it's hitting our community, then I would rather err on the side of caution. I don't want to stigmatize anyone, but like imagine if it happens and we didn't perk our ears up, because we've already had the gay or LGBT meningitis outbreak a couple of months ago. I mean, it's just seemingly never ending for health crises this year.
I think it's very important to remember that the vaccine that basically has almost completely eradicated chickenpox is highly effective.
I'm sorry, smallpox.
Or smallpox,
Yes.
thank you, of smallpox. Thanks for the correction. And so there is a highly effective treatment, and I agree with the caution. But I think one of the issues is, one of the reporting that is going on is the concerns. Even President Biden has commented on it today in Japan about the comparisons to the possibility of pandemic as it related to like COVID-19. They are not related in any possible way. This is not the same kind of situation as COVID-19. So it's very important we do this story tonight to make sure that we begin to have robust conversation about what's going on.
And I think having the education out there that there is a vaccine that is highly effective on this should make this less of a story, because you can go to your doctor and get it taken care of.
Yeah.
It should not be compared to HIV and AIDS and start that stigma again against our community. I mean, having been someone who who had gotten AIDS during the height of the pandemic, and now we look at it 40 years later, and it is not isolated to just the LGBTQ community. It's affecting disproportionately minorities because of stigma and other issues, but it is not a gay disease. And to try to do what you were saying, and I appreciate where you came from, John, but like I just find it outrageous that they would try to stigmatize this and say blame it on us because we're the ones spreading it, and that's just the part that bothers me.
And I just want to make a note to your vaccine comment. There are 2 licensed vaccines for monkeypox in the United States. Now, people who are 50 and younger may not have had a smallpox vaccine, which makes them more susceptible. But of one of the vaccines, the most common one, there's only, I think, 2,000 doses, and it's a 2-dose regimen. So there's only enough vaccine for 1,000 people in the United States. So you can't just go to your doctor and get it. The second vaccine has severe, harsh side effects, and they're not going to be releasing that until it becomes a bigger problem, and then they will reevaluate. So this isn't like the meningitis a couple months ago where you can just go and get a thing. So I don't want people starting to call their doctors tomorrow and try and get it.
Right.
This is probably not going to become a big thing, but if it does, we could be in very big trouble.
Exactly. It's just like you were saying earlier, Glenn, it's education at the end of the day is what needs to be done. And that's what we here at this table are doing, educating the folks who are watching this so they know what to look out for and to be able to keep themselves and their families safe.
We don't want another toilet paper issue.
We don't need
enough because everyone's hoarding it.
I'm well stuck.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out Television Network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBT